What is going on, world? It is Mr. Dreams to Reality, Mr. Coach Ford here with the first official to come up with Justin and Lemi. As y'all know, if you haven't listened to previous podcasts in the past, y'all know this is my big brother. This is the savant of basketball. This man's got more hustles going than I got, and this guy has been somebody that I've looked up to for a long time, a big brother of mine. Literally a brother from another mother, Mr. Lemi Williams. What's up, man? Tell the world what's popping. It's been a minute since we've been on.
And life's been good, man. It's just, it has been a minute. You know me, I like to disappear for a while. So, but here I am. What's going on? I wish I could tell you. I know we'll dig deeper into it, but I got a lot of irons in the fire. So, in every aspect of life.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I think this is the first for us that we've gotten to use the Riverside app. And it's been a minute since we recorded our last one. And the nice part about this, it gives you the ability to be on the move and be on emotion and be able to do this. And this is the nice part that me and you talked about last night. And, where we're going to take the podcast. We've been talking about to come up with Justin and Lemi and rebranding that and the media company and all the things that you got going on. What is that one thing going on right now that you could say? Like, it's been a minute. So update us. So what does it feel like to be you? What is it? I know there's been a lot of changes, but, fill the people in, man.
So, you know me, everything I do is constantly different from day to day. No 2 days are the same by any stretch of the imagination. The biggest focus is the media. I see the pivot that needs to happen. I've called every social media pivot prior to TikTok getting banned, and I've been prepping for this moment. Like, I don't have TikTok. Did TikTok for like 3 months back in 2021, just because it hurt just to watch that I missed that wave of people getting put on. So knowing what's about to change, the whole landscape's about to change, I've been prepping for this moment for like the last 18 months, bro. And it's been a grind. It's been some major learning curves. Been out the outdoor studios in Hampton. I call it Hampton. It's Northampton, right before you get to 44. I worked with a great team that has really, they hit me to the finite things when it comes to podcasting, scripting, doing YouTube shows, social media, because you know me, I'm an introvert. I really don't like people knowing anything about me until you meet me or until we're in front of face to face. So that's the thing that I've been working on the most, is trying to get comfortable being in front of a camera or being like on this, like when it's just you and I in person, I don't even know cameras exist. But this, like even this right here, this is different because I just don't, I don't know. Anyway, I digress. So the biggest thing is that getting the media part up and running, having a platform that's going to be accepting of people who migrated from one mega platform to this, and basically everybody's starting from scratch. And then now you really get to let the personality play out. The most creative content, it will always shine. Those are the things that I'm focused on. What I told you, I'm close to 1,000 hours of recorded video.
Yeah.
I have some skits, some sketches. I don't know if those will ever get released, but it's just refining a craft of being a content creator, because I didn't even like the name content creator. I just record my life, man, and the things that I do on a daily basis, it's fun.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. We haven't talked in some time because it's basketball season, and your kids are athletes, and they're busy living their life and doing the dad thing. And you put me privy on some things such as Red Note, and then the craziest part, our phones are tapped all the time because Facebook shows us this TikTok Red Note conversation, and we just got off the phone, and it was not even 2 minutes later that we watched, or I sent you a screenshot like, oh my God, look at this group chat. that I'm in, talking about Red Note and TikTok ban. So tell me, and we've talked about the podcasting, how do you feel the world of podcasting is going to go? And I know streaming is huge, and we talked a little bit about it last night. But for you, you've been a part of every wave. You've seen every wave. You looked at the Google, you've seen the Bitcoin, you've seen the MySpace and the Meta. And for some people, they're like, I don't believe in the social media thing. It's not a thing. And you're seeing it where it's like, no, they're paying people millions of dollars to be on top of this. And I know you talked about you missed those last waves, but what about the people that's like, I don't want to turn the camera on and talk. I don't want to get in front of camera. I don't like the Riverside app that Justin's in Farmington, and I don't know if you're back in Farmington tonight or if you're wherever you're at, but the ability to do our podcast and figure out how can we really use creative AI with the backgrounds and the settings and all these things. How do you feel about that?
So that's a lot to unpack. So I'm one of those people that I'm not a big fan of social media. Like I'm not. But that's a personal thing. That's me fighting being raised by people who grew up in the 40s, 50s. So, where we were always raised to keep your business, your business. Well, we've also been raised to take the money. So those two worlds collide, and now you have to figure out what's more important. Do I maintain that principle and get left behind of keeping my business to myself? Or do I capitalize on something that I'm going to do all day, every day? Like the only difference is I'm recording it. So people who are starting to get into it, they're in my realm. And here's how I got over it. I didn't just go live streaming. I haven't done a live stream. Actually, I've done two, but that was in 2017. So I still have those. Um, I built up a catalog. I call it a catalog of just recorded content. And the content never has to be consistent unless you want to be branded as this thing. Like, I want to be branded as a gaming streamer or gaming content or this content. But my advice is to be versatile. Just create a catalog, a backlog of videos. You just get ready to go have lunch with your homegirl. You do it every week, every Wednesday. Turn the camera on. Just record it. And with video editing and AI, and AI really isn't that, it's not there yet for public consumption. So I don't recommend just your first time jumping in trying to figure AI out and how to do stream uploads or whatever. So just create a bunch of content, sit on it, and then you'll see which way content is moving as far as media. Like this may be for a 6-month span. People may be really into athletes and sportcast. Then they may be into what's the tea with entertainment and hip hop and so on and so forth. But if you're recording a bunch of content, you can categorize that later at a later time. And now you have a backlog of content that you can immediately push out to multiple platforms. And then you can turn around and chop those videos up and create short reels. What do they call them on TikTok? TikTok. Or on Red Note, Red Note is where I encourage everybody to go to. But anyway, Instagram, Facebook, like you can multi-purpose all of this video. The more you experiment with uploading video, that'll lead you down the rabbit hole of how can I enhance this video? How can I be creative? How can I use what I've learned to help somebody else? That's where AI comes in for me. Just playing around with AI, I bought a bunch of software and I even told my brother about it. I was like, I got an idea. So I created a 45-second ad promo for a food truck. And then I took that ad promo and took it to that food truck competitor and I showed them the video and it was dope. And it was my first time and I used AI. I used a bunch of tools to just really put it over the top. And I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to publish this promo for your competitor. But before I do that, I want to give you an opportunity to see if I can do this for you. If you're willing to do this at $300 for a 45-second spot, then I won't publish this video. And that person watched the video and they were like, yeah, shoot one of me. It was probably an hour, 90 minutes of recording, then down chopped at AI voice. And this is a different AI voice, not like your Siri or that guy that is all over Facebook. This actually sounds like an actual human. So I did the video for him and paid me right there on the spot. And then I told him, we could do this once a week, or I can put you on a monthly plan or an annual plan. And as I do that, I'm not just comfortable with that one thing. I want to improve that. So now I learned how to create I take AI and I can create an image of like an Instagram model. Like you would thought that this is a real life person. Then I can take another software and take that Instagram model and turn it into a motion picture or a motion activity, and then find a voice and create the voice to suit that, and it matches perfect. So now this person now is promoting your product. So imagine like Bella Hadid, Kendall, Kylie Jenner type models promoting your product all through AI, and you can't even tell that that's not a real person.
Right.
So that's the next move. That's where everything's going. And right now, with TikTok becoming potentially banned, this creates a new start point for people. You got all these people, Charlie D'Amelio, Tabi, all these people who got all these followers. Well, everybody gets to start from scratch now. And they get to be in the position of these people pre-COVID. Like these people were grinding and doing all these backlogs of videos. And then when COVID hit and it forced everybody to be home, they said, hey, people are searching for content. Let me just try this out. Let me start posting videos. You post 6 videos a day, bro, your life will change.
Right.
And that's where I'm at right now, because those 6 videos get repurposed across 4 or 5 platforms. And now you're talking about your Google AdSense dollars, and then your partnerships, your paid partnerships, and et cetera. The sky's the limit now. Linear media is dying. It's dead. People don't tune into SportsCenter, First Take. They're tuning into Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee started that way too. Tuning
No
into Pat
Chill Gil.
McAfee. No Chill Gil's Arena.
Stephen A.
Janet
Smith had
State.
to do his own.
And he's the number one sports analyst with the number one show at ESPN. Even he's seen the writing on the wall to where he had to go to this digital media because it's not linear. People are not turning TVs on anymore.
Right.
Like, they want to know why the NBA viewership is down. Because where do I watch it at? Like, I got to watch it on Amazon Prime. I got to watch it on this streaming service. Well, that's not the only thing on that streaming service. You have a lot of original content on that streaming service. So while I'm trying to find a game, I come across something that I want, like, oh, what is that? I'm going to end up watching that original content and then pulling a game up on Google and just looking at live sports.
Right.
That's where everything is moving to, and it's constantly evolving. So the people who, like I spoke earlier, like myself, who was raised by people that grew up that were born in the 40s and 50s, while the basis of what they taught me still will be what grounds me, the application has to be different. The application can't be antiquated.
Right.
I have to meet people where they're at, on their phone, on their tablet, not on TV. So that is where I'm moving towards as far as creating various streams of income.
Yeah, I think it's a unique perspective that you said. And for somebody at home that's not getting it, and they're like, well, I thought this was to come up with Justin Lemi, and where's all this stuff? Understanding what we're doing is we're shaping this up where this is the come up. The come up is the new wave of technology, to where for people who don't know you and they don't know your backstory, and I'm saying, hey, I remember when Lemi put me on about the iPad and all these different gadgets and, the smart homes and all these things. And now we're here where on my iPad, I could be having this podcast. We could stream our podcast live, right? And we could stream it live if I had my computer set up. We can do this live now, and we could stream our podcast. You could be anywhere in the world, in the US, and we could reach our audience. And that is also what you're talking about, that the NBA has to compete with. Because now what keeps us from streaming the NBA game from our show and then talking about it live?
Well, licensing will keep you from doing that, but here's how people get around that. They record the game and they clip it. So now that not only did they clip the game and they can show you highlights for X amount of seconds so you don't get struck down by copyright strike on YouTube, they interrupt that with commentary. And then they'll show you another clip and now that takes, then they add in other storylines. By the way, let me tell you about this one time I met Victor Wembanyama, and they'll go on that little sidebar, and then they'll go back to the clip. So I'd rather watch that, like Peyton and Eli, when they do their simultaneous cast on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
That's more entertaining because I actually will watch because of the stories that they tell in between the dead spaces of the timeouts or the commercials. So in essence, all you did was take a game and where they would normally put a commercial, you clipped it. And then in that space of 2 minutes and 12 or 2 minutes 32 seconds of a commercial, you give them context or you give them dialogue of an experience that's similar to what they're watching. So that's how they're getting around that. And there's nothing you can do to stop that.
I think what you said is interesting. So they would have to go back and listen to previous podcasts, but we'll rehash it. And people have short memories. We'll be able to repurpose all of our content. And I agree with you on that. It's more exciting. So if we're watching a game, that feels natural, right? With Peyton and Eli, it feels like I'm watching it with my homeboys. So they're telling me a story
Exactly.
and I'm listening. So like if me and you're watching a basketball game, we're still watching the game, but we're catching up. So now it feels like, hey, you remember whenever we were sitting at Applebee's and now we're reminiscing about the basketball game. We're still watching it in the background, but now it becomes more interactive, which is where I think the NBA is kind of messed up. Is I get they're going to the money, but I think the NBA should have reserved some of what the NFL's done with these influencers and these people and say, hey, how about you guys sit down and talk about the game in real time and do exactly what you're talking about and then run ads underneath it as they're talking and you're captivating the attention because on ads, we all know what we do with ads. We're like, okay, I'm clicking off this. I'm going to go watch something else until this ad's off. Back where you had to watch commercials, it's a totally different thing. And so I want to bring this point home about the come up and where we're taking the show and what direction we're going is this is the new hustle, right? This is the new, if you're not willing to adapt with where the world is going, you're just going to be left behind. And, I was raised by my grandmother and if I would tell, hey, I made $125 on Facebook, that would be a lot of money to her. But me and you are looking at it like, that ain't nothing, grandma. Mom, like, no, we finna get a bag. We finna get a check. We got to get these views ran up. And it's one of those hustles where even though it's not a fast hustle, it's a safe hustle. It's not one of those where, yeah, you got to put yourself out there a little bit and you got to be interesting enough to deliver the story, but it's safe money, right? And I was telling one of my students today, I said, man, y'all do realize this is just free money because I'm online creating content. And Facebook is going to pay me to keep people on their platform. And this is where the NFL and NBA have to get better at is what you're saying, the micro influencers, not the macro. Sure, Peyton and Eli, and those are great. But it's going to be, hey, Lemi and Justin, I see you're doing 2 million views. Are you willing to stream a show in the background while you talk about it? And understanding, okay, with the generative AI and all these things in this platform, and I know the NBA is doing some things with AI as far as the NBA is concerned, but I still believe there's that essence of the human element that they're replacing with. And so how do you feel, looking back at all your hustles and saying like, and I know you talked about it before that person, it's like, I still don't quite get it. Like, what are you guys doing? I get you're clipping the videos and you're uploading. For me and you, that's simple. hey, record content, sit on it, do the podcast, why streaming and podcast is relatively big. Or still not even as big as it could be. I still think the way streaming and technology is going, podcast is only going to get bigger. What do you think about that, and unpack that for some people and how you feel in terms of that future media opportunity?
So in the onset, excuse me, it seems like I'm so far behind. That's the initial feeling, right? I just see the Kai Cenat, I see the whoever else doing these things, and there's no way that I could do that thing. That's usually because I went through that. I went through that, like, and let me back it up just a little bit. So I told my nephews in 2018, yeah, 2018, I said, listen, here's what you guys need to do. And I promise you, you won't regret it. I said, you guys all hang out. It's like 5 of them, my nephews, and then like 3 other friends. And they're always together. I said, you guys need to collectively pull together and go get a house and 5 people with, at that time, their credit. I mean, their credit is incredible now, but at that time, they still had enough credit, first-time home buyers, etc. There was ways to get a very elaborate setup, and they all 5 lived there, and it only cost them what, roughly $500 each a month. You think about $2,500 rent for a place in Cape Girardeau. You pretty much got 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, something like that, something nice. So I tell them, I say, you guys need to do that, and then set up a bunch of cameras. I can set the cameras up, and you stream all of your activities 24/7, because you have a group of people that are entertained by your personality. They're entertained. This person's group of people are entertained by their personality. But I guarantee you, they all wonder, how do you guys work together with your personality? Do that. Now, look at Amp. Look at Phase. What do? They got a house. They got $1 million home that they all live in, and they stream 24/7, and every one of them's making multiple millions a year. But this was 6, 8 years ago. No, 9 years ago, I recommended it. I talked to my nephew last year, and I asked him, I was like, don't you wish you would have done what I said? He was like, yeah, we'd be killing it. I said, that's okay. But that's how most people start. We don't get it. We don't understand. This is the one thing in media, the one time in life where you don't need any experience. People are just hungry for content. Their attention spans are shorter now than it's ever been. So that's why you think about it. Why did YouTube come up with their short? Why do you think, or which one has Reels? YouTube
Instagram and
Short.
Facebook.
Instagram and Facebook has Reels, and then you got the TikTok. Because everybody was watching 27-minute videos. But then if you can make me feel emotionally connected the same way, but in less time, I'm going to go to that.
Right.
And if you can do it in less time, but if you can do it more time in less time, then I'm going to follow that series of 1 minute, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. So moral of the story is, people have to just say, you have to get outside of what you think other people will think of you. The key to hustling is you really have to not care what anybody else thinks. Your desire to accomplish what you want has to be greater than what the disappointment could be of other people's perception. So, and that's one of the things kind of kept me away from it just a little. Not, me, I don't really care what people think, but at the same time, I use that as I guess, a lie to myself to keep me from really going all in. And now I talk to you about all the stuff I'm into, and I don't care what people think. Like, I don't, because the people that will hate you will hate engagement. They will hate watch. The people that like you will like watch. Either way, you're watching.
Right.
For the people who want you to fail, give them a view of what failure may look like or may not look like. So if I'm recording and then and you're seeing I'm only getting 25, 50, 100 views, then they can say, oh, look, I told you, like, all right, cool. We got a metric now, but you still watched it.
Right.
Now you're going to go tell the person just like they say, word of mouth is the best advertisement. Even negative advertisement is good advertisement because you think, yo, I told this fool he should never get into streaming. Go watch it. Look, I'm going to send you a link. Now they watch it. Now they laugh. And they all are going to laugh you into success. That's what you have to realize. It's not like it used to be. Sometimes back in the day, they would laugh you into embarrassment and you just hide. But now, people who are laughing at you or hating on you, that actually pays you now. You can get paid from hate. So, whatever excuse, there's no more excuses. Like, I was the biggest anti anything media wise, being on camera, podcast, all of that. But now, my hate engagement runs my numbers up. Like, I put a post on there last night. I did a reel, or not even a reel. What was it? Like a little video.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, dude, within 2 hours, it was like 477 views. And I post late at night. That way I can actually get good metrics on good measurements on the metric. I post late at night so I can see the people who look at my stuff late at night and watch my videos. It showed 80% were not.
Wow.
That's crazy. I just put a reel up. I had a reel that was like 1,700. I don't even have 1,700 friends on my Facebook.
Yeah,
So
I saw that number count. I was like, let me do numbers with a small follower count's crazy, but yeah.
yeah, it's hate watching. And then you were the one that told me, like, I told you Facebook keeps sending me invoices like I got money or whatever. So I go and look and see. I'm just like, so I actually looked at it last night. I was like, this is what Facebook does. But that doesn't motivate me. But let that motivate the person who is afraid to get off the porch. Like, because it all adds up. And people will hate watch. The person that's close to you will hate watch. In real life, we talk, but behind closed doors, they can't stand you. So
Right.
they're going to hate watch. And they're going to get other haters. One thing haters do better than best friends, they come together quick. They assemble like the Avengers. All you got to do is say, come look at this idiot. Come look at this fool. And you will have them flock together ASAP, like Transformers, like Voltron. They will come together quicker than anything you've ever seen.
Yeah. No, and it's funny you said that because you told me about this months ago when I said, hey, I'm going to build this media company and we're going to do this and all these things. And, we had discussions about people wanting me to join theirs. And we're like, no, we're going to continue to move this forward and we're going to do this. And it is interesting to see the numbers, the amount of people that troll and they're negative and they're just on it to just be a part of it. And I always say this, and I learned this from Drake, and people cannot like Drake. And Drake said this, your haters are just confused fans because the people that rock with you, they're going to be like, okay, I'll catch up with Justin, right? Like those people are like, me and you, we not talk for months, but like, hey, I'll catch up with Lemi when I catch up. We're busy. It'll be a good time. And then other people be like, oh my gosh, he's still creating videos. I know I can feel their energy. And I know it sounds crazy. I just feel their energy because I'm looking at my views and I'm like, who are all these people? Like, who's consuming this content? And a lot of times, and me, you talk about this, and I've been discussing this about you don't need other people's permission to do this, where we're transforming who we are as individuals, right? Where they'll be like, well, I remember when Lemmy used to do this, and you're like, no, I'm on this AI, I got all these projects. Well, no. We want to keep you boxed into the old you. Why can't you just be the old you? And you're like, no. This is the wave. I'm going to the future. Y'all can stay back here. But Facebook is paying me some money, so I'm gonna go get this money that they give.
Yeah. I can say that. I'm going to share. So I got a YouTube. I have 6 YouTube channels. I've never even plugged or anything. I'm going to send you a screenshot of my monthly. Hold on, let me think of how to say this where I jam myself. I'm going to send you a screenshot of my YouTube Studio monthly. I've not shared. This is from outside outside of anybody knowing me. I have multiple faceless YouTube channels, and that's another thing we'll get into, faceless YouTube channels. It's just money printing machine. So I bring in about 4,900 a month of my faceless YouTube channel, and nobody is subscribed to it that I even know. No one. Like this is your first time hearing this.
Yeah. But you told me about
And
it, and we have some
I told
offline
you to
stuff
get
that we
on
can
it.
do. But I'm gonna get there, and I don't think that's gonna go away, especially the way with AI. It's only gonna get bigger because but yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
So now that they were not performing well, whatever, that's what really drove me on the AI side is how can I make my AI that I'm learning, my prompting and all this work for me with this? Because every experience that I gain in this, it's tangible in real life. So companies like these call centers are going to be a thing of the past. Like, hello, thank you for calling, whatever, whatever. My name is so-and-so. How can I help you today? No, AI is already, as soon as you call, all your information has been purchased at some point in time. And when that AI loads up your profile, they're already going to know how to influence you to purchase the thing that you called in for. And they don't need a physical human being answering the phone and having to pay them X amount of dollars per hour. And now the overhead is decreased. So, like, why do you think in 2010 is when the shift really happened of moving call centers overseas? So, that's going to become TikTok forced to go dark on Sunday.
That just come on the
Sunday,
news.
yeah, Sunday's going to be a good day. But anyway, so what people need to understand is that what you do, you can't expect the people close to you to support the dream that you have because they didn't dream it. But there's somebody outside of that, your circle. And I mean, I got people from all over the world that use my faceless YouTube and they support me. And I'm not nearly as active as I'm going to be because this started off as an experiment to me. Like, this was my comfort of breaking into doing social media. And the learning curve was higher than it will be for someone starting now. So when it comes to hustling, it doesn't matter what the hustle is, as long as it puts food on the table. And because these people are not sitting at the table when dinner time comes.
Right.
So when you got a full spread, they're not there to eat it with you. When you don't have anything and you appease them, they're not there when you're drinking water and eating crackers. So what does it matter at the end of the day? Just start. I know you're looking at that TikTok ban.
Yeah, you got me looking at it because I was like, oh, I have to. We got to talk about that. That's real time. I mean, it's real time, and I believe this is the thing that separates us from. I look at it when I watch the current NBA guys with their podcasts, right? It's like, how long is this going to be relevant, right? Like, how long can they continue to talk about the same stories over and over and over? And it's like, eventually, and I get that I listen to them and I like those discussions, but I'm thinking, is that the future? Yeah, I get what they're doing and they're capitalizing on their market value. And you look at the TikTok ban, and I'm thinking, we could talk old basketball stuff and old history, but being in that real time now, so when people discover us and they say, oh my God, these two guys were on this years ago, right? What do you think about that in terms of not only the TikTok ban, but watching other genres of people saying, okay, we're interested in where this is going? Because me and you are very nerdy in that. We're like, okay, I'm watching your TikTok and I'm watching your videos, but how long is this going to be relevant? Where our conversation is like, hey, where are you going to be at 10 years from now whenever we had the last discussion about doing podcasts? 10 years ago, here we are finally doing the podcast. Have you thought about those things in terms of, you know, the life you've lived? And we're going to get into that. We're not probably going to get it too deep in this episode, but the life you lived, transforming those stories, and I'm sure you've probably already done that, into the generative AI to the faceless YouTubes, then being able to go to other media companies. Say, this story is doing this amount of views on YouTube. I can sell these not necessarily rights, but royalties to you or like this for X amount of dollars.
So funny you ask that. I've thought about it in depth. So your first question, what are your thoughts on the way the current media and the storytelling of former players, what does that look like years down the road? So I've already thought about that. That's cultural. So you have a person like me, and I've seen Jordan rookie year, from his rookie year all the way up to Wembanyama's rookie year. And 2000 and from 6 to 8, that's when things shifted. That's when media becomes condensed, and we need it quicker and we need it shorter. But I'm old enough to want to know those backstories of those guys. Now, when a person like me gets to my, like, well, it's moving fast. So typically, when you got about a 10 to 12 year shelf life before the culture shifts on things like that, sports related. No, it won't. I say the sports thing is got about a good 3 to 4 year run. But what will happen is the more intelligent sports podcasters, YouTube channels are going to learn to pivot. They'll see where it's running out, because the culture will always dictate what they want and how they want it served and how often. So you're looking at this TikTok ban. You got 100 million people. TikTok had 177 million U.S. users. 177 million. That's close to 50%. Yeah. So in one day on Red Note, Jingju, they had 100 million U.S. customers download the app and sign up. 100 million in one day. TikTok has been going since for like 8 years. And if you mean to tell me I got 60% of the most popular app in the world, 60% of those users from one country, not going to be long before there's something else. Something else is in the works. Because here's the problem with the Red Note. I love it because I tell people all the time, you have no idea what it's like in other countries.
Right.
Like, hey, home of the free and the brave and the proud, whatever those monikers are, cool. But you don't know what life is like until you go overseas and live in different places, experience culture. People always talk bad about China. I have never heard anybody who either played in China or friends I know who are from China. They told me the same thing, that people are finding out on Red Note, that it has all been propaganda. China is light years ahead of U.S. And if you think China's light years ahead of U.S., Japan it's incredible. So people are starting to get exposure. And it's funny because I see all the reactions from Americans like, I've been lied to my whole life. I thought we're the greatest nation on earth. And the income disparity, X-wise, all these things, people are figuring out that $7.25 federal minimum wage is just ludicrous. And you don't really have to work multiple jobs to make a living. They're starting to find out that that is an actual reality in China, communist China, where they take all your food and they divvy it, socialism is what they call it. They divvy it out amongst them. No, these places are far more advanced technologically, socially, economically, but we're under this guise that this is the greatest place on earth. I mean, the U.S. is cool. I have experience in multiple countries. So you're never going to hear me going, this is the greatest place on earth to live, because there's so many other great places.
Right.
I take the good of every place and be like, yeah, this has its benefits, this has its benefits, so on and so forth. So moving forward, people have to understand, like, this Red Note thing is going to be hot for a little bit, but U.S. can't capitalize off of that. U.S. government can't capitalize off of it. So they've got to figure out the whole TikTok ban is they thought they were going to be able to get someone, Zuckerberg, whoever, to buy TikTok and then figure out how to monetize that to where now that they can buy shares in that company
Right.
and control the data. So I think it's like, I don't know, I can't think, it's a high percentage of senators who actually signed off on this bill has crazy shares in Meta. So that should tell you something alone, like what's behind it. I'm not for one company or the other. I don't care because I can see it on the horizon, how to pivot. Right now, the biggest thing that anybody can do, and I think YouTube is going to take over everything. That's just my thought, because they are more flexible with the Google search engine behind them, and their AI crazy.
Yeah, I mess with it. I definitely mess with it. And I think for some people
Right.
that's gonna be a fan of Lemmy or Justin, they're gonna listen to this and they're gonna be like, what are these guys even talking about? Like, they were hoping we'd come on here and talk about some nonsense. And I'm listening to you and I'm like, this is amazing how far technology has come, right? And to know that the TikTok ban and the Red No and the ability, not only Google to live a different life from your phone, right? To get on YouTube and say, okay, what does it look like to live in Ghana? What does it look like to live in Japan? What does it look like to live in China? And then have the ability to get a passport and then go live in those places, create content, and then flood that content to the world and then be a world traveler, doing the thing that you love to do and making tons of money off of it and getting tons of brands endorsement. Sure, the US government can't get their money, but the rest of us is trying to get our lick. And so it's interesting to me that you said the TikTok ban with the Meta in that purchase, because Facebook just did. I don't know if you're paying attention to this, but Facebook just put a little blurb in the middle of its app saying import your TikTok onto Meta, which I thought was interesting. And then the next thing, and I'm sure you know about this, but Meta and Mark Zuckerberg wants to invest $300 billion to embed fiber across the globe that stretches the earth. Have you read that?
I read that, and I honestly, that's already in process. So he's trying to capitalize off the ignorance of U.S. citizens. There's fiber cables that run all across the world that like that, but many people are not aware of that. So that's one. That's him trying to get out in front of the information that's going to come through for people that the exposure of the information that's already out there that people don't know how to find it. There's that fiber is already running from country to country, continent to continent. And then to backtrack on this, is funny that I seen you post that this morning about convert your TikTok over to Facebook, right? You want to know why that happened? Because one of the top content providers on Red Note he went viral this morning, like early this morning. I seen it at like 4 something this morning, 4:50, of how to convert your TikTok data to Red Note. And then 2 hours later, Zuckerberg comes out with like a public statement of how to convert it over, like that. It is a battle. See, people think it's a battle for content. No, it's a battle for all the meta data that's behind the content.
Right.
Like, how many seconds did this person I spend on? That's why biometrics was so important for phones. They needed to know how long your eyes focus on an ad. And then that information is kept in the metadata. And then, so if you're scrolling on Facebook and you happen to come across that little ninja blender, like that little blender that went viral, or the handheld blender, whatever, smoothie maker, how long did that person eyes? So you can measure how long they stayed on the video, but how long were their eyes in contact with the video?
Right.
So all that's part of your data. That's the data that Facebook wants, and Red Note wants, and Google wants. Everybody wants that. That.
And that's the big thing about being in this space, because you put me on the Red Note and you put me on all kinds of AI chat features. And I always think it's an interesting dynamic because when we do have conversation, I'm always learning something new and saying, okay, man, what I've been creating so much content and I've been busy doing things. It was so interesting. So many people, and I'm not pivoting off this, but I'm trying to add to it. So many people are concerned that your life slows down with AI and technology, but it doesn't. If you do it right, it advances it. So for somebody like you that's in the know, and you've always been on top of it, and most people don't know you've been on top of trending a technology before it even trends. I
Yeah.
remember in 2011, or when did we first talk?
We talked,
It was about the iPads at your house, is what I'm trying to remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
and
in 2010 or 2009, end of 2009.
so we're having a conversation at your house. We're having dinner, and you're telling me all the iPads. You're showing me all these gadgets. I'm like, man, I didn't even caught up on the concept of the iPhone yet. Like, what? He goes, yeah, look at all these things and look at what it can does. And I think it's interesting how many people says Apple is kind of fading away. I think Apple is waiting for this moment in time where their product is, because I was listening to Earn Your Leisure, or Mark Zuckerberg said, oh, Apple hasn't innovated in a long time. And I'm thinking, I like what Apple does by not rushing anymore. I think Apple refining the product stability for AI and understanding the AI metaverse is a smart move, because how much data does Apple own? Which I'm not saying they're selling it, but it's interesting that Mark says that. So what are you trying to make a play on Apple by making their company devalued, by saying they're not innovating so Meta can come in and buy Apple? It's just those type of conversations that interest me. It sounds techy and boring, but it's really high level business discussions that we're talking about, because he who controls the data controls the room, which is what you're talking about with the Ninja Blender, what you're talking about with Redno and the 177 users from TikTok, or 100 million users of Americans going to Redno, and understanding the direction we're going in. Right? For us, you live a whole life that we can't go into yet, and you have projects coming up, but then you come online and you're able to articulate that point, and then people see you in public and be like, oh, that's the dude that was on the one show, right? Because now what you can do with advertising that you're talking about is target that person specifically. And this is where Meta and TikTok and all these advertisers are going to get their money, is saying, okay, Lemi and Justin talked about Red Note and Cape Girardeau. Well, now as an advertiser and as a business owner, we can go in there and say, hey, we're going to target our AI ad to this circle of people that's been clicking our data. So now Facebook gets better ads revenue. We get better business drive, and it'll drive more people to those businesses if they do it right. So my question to you, and I'm bringing it to this point, is: are businesses who don't understand this, are they going to close because of this? Because they don't understand how to access the technology, or they don't understand how to use it?
Say this, traditional businesses will suffer and adapt, or suffer and fade away. So in 2006, no, I moved back here in 2005 from Cali. And in Cali, I was doing credit card processing, right? So I set the business up with the credit card processor to handle all of their card transactions based off category: debit, credit, PIN-based debit, no PIN but signature. And I remember, I'm trying to think, I won't even go into that part because I did clear it with her. When I came back here, I worked for RBS Link, and you would be surprised how many businesses I went to that didn't process. I think at that time, why I went everywhere? Because I knew everybody who owned whatever, and they were like, "Oh, we don't take credit cards, we don't take debit cards, cash only or check." And this was in 2005.
Wow.
And being in Cali and coming back to here, it's like going through a time portal. So the music, the trends, the clothing, like the makeup and everything is years behind. So for me, I'm thinking, well, you don't take debit card. Well, we don't really get that many people using it, but you could see it on the horizon because the very bank in which you bank at, they were talking about the credit debit card. Like that was the thing. You could feel the shift. But I actually got to live it in real time because I went from the place where that's the only thing used and there was no cash to here. And that's all I use is cash or check. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't even think 1997 maybe was the last time I wrote a check.
Right.
People come in, they buy their groceries. Like I'm in Hart or Country Mart at the time. And they unload their cart and they write a check. And I was like, you can buy groceries with a check? And they're like, yeah. There was no way you could do that in Allen County.
Right.
No way. They'd be like, man, you better get out of here with that. So I could see it on the horizon. Now, the people who did not go with credit card processing, because I was number 3 in the company when I moved here, number 3 in a Fortune 500 company for sales. And I'm only 6 months in, and I did it from Farmington, Missouri. So I'm getting these people to convert over, and we're like, I know them personally. So they're telling me the increase of business that they had and their increase of repeat customers. Because to have cash at that time, there was a process you had to go. I got to go cash my check. Well, I can't walk around with all this money on me. So I'll deposit the money and then, oh, wait, I can't just go get it out the ATM. So I got to go through the drive-through, fill a slip out, withdraw, blah, blah, blah. What? And they give me that much money. Well, I got $200. Well, I just having to swap for something that's $232. Well, that's an inconvenience because now I got to go back. Oh, well, the line's long, bank closed. Like, just get a debit card. When these people, and this is what I used to tell the customers, when they do, you are worried about what's happening right now. But when the convenience of being able to swipe and go comes about, I don't have to think about what I'm spending. When I have to count the dollars, I have to think about, let me see, 20, 40, 60, 80, 81, 82. Let me see what change I got. Like I don't want to have to think about it.
Right.
So to take you forward, like when I did that, I converted a lot of companies or a lot of businesses over to accepting credit debit cards, and their business boomed from that. Well, the ones that didn't, they were left behind. And I can think of one place that didn't take my services, and they shut down probably within 10 months, and they were one of the hottest spots in, I ain't gonna say where, but in the square in Farmington, downtown. They was popping, but they were like, we're just cash only. Bro, you got a business that just moved across the street that does the same thing that you do, but they're not cash only.
Right.
They take credit and debit. And then the same thing when Apple Pay came out. I don't have cards. I don't have cash. I use Apple Pay for everything.
Yeah, I know you
And
got me on to the Apple Pay. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you've always, and it's interesting because as much as conversations we have, I'm always like, man, I got to go get onto this because Lemi showed me this. And it's so funny because if they don't have tap to pay, I'm like, hey, I can't shop here because
I can't.
I don't know where my debit or wallet card is, and I don't feel like running to the bank. And with Venmo now, man, with the access to Venmo, and that's such an underrated opportunity. And Venmo is really set up with the crypto and all that stuff that the world is so flat now. What you're talking about is you can make a transaction and be like, hey, I want to pay you for training, but I don't have $60 cash. I was like, hey, I got Venmo. And then you can turn around with Venmo and have to pay somewhere else without the need of a card. Like for hustles and people when they come up, and I get cash is king, all that. Okay, I get it. But what I'm saying is for people else that's hustling, when we're like, I need to go make $300. That's how many Venmo transactions I need. One $300 Venmo transaction? Bad. All right, you got tap to pay. I'll be there in 2 minutes. But
Exactly.
for you, as you went through that journey and transition to like from the hustle to now, where it's like, oh, I can go get hustle easier with this because I don't have to worry about it. And granted, I know some people don't want the government tracking and all that, whatever. At this point, it's do you want to get the money or not? That's what this podcast is going to come down to. Are you coming to get the money? Are you coming to learn? Are you coming to get this information? Because we're not going to put it all out here at one. But I really want you on the next episode to talk about the clean AI and the Reno and the transition and pivot that you're seeing. Because I mean, you talked about this in previous podcasts. Your ability to have foresight. right? Whenever we first started talking about podcasting and Apple, and it bothered me when Mark Zuckerberg said Apple hasn't innovated. And I'm thinking, what more do you want them to do besides be a stable product in a world that's they were ahead of time on? What else do they need to do besides continue to have a stable product in a world that was they designed before they got here?
So that statement is going to bite him in the butt. And here's why. When I heard him make that statement, I thought to myself, you don't get it. You don't get it. Apple has not made anything innovative since Steve Jobs passed away. It's the state. Yet it's the first $1 trillion company traded. Oh, the iPhone came out in '05. I remember I skipped on the first one because I was a little skeptical, but I was already fancy with the phones that I had.
Right.
So I'm like, I already got my touch screen. I got the slide out keyboard. Like, I'm cool. So I skipped on the first one. But when that second one came out, I was the number 6 in line in pharmacy, waiting outside. Now, this is not where the AT&T store was. This AT&T store was like next door to, at the time, I think it was Blockbuster. It was next to that, and I was number 6 in line because I had to have it. The conversations in the grocery stores. I can't believe all these people are waiting for some phone. That phone's the devil. That phone's going to stand. Like, this was the talk, right? So the product was so incredible that here's the true statement about Apple of how ingenious it is. If you only have to make minimal changes year over year and then increase multiple options of the same thing, but just minimal, slight increases of aesthetic or convenient, still the same thing at the core, and get people to buy it and charge an exorbitant amount for each level, that's genius, right?
Right.
They don't have to recreate. They're literally not recreating the wheel. They're just refining it. They're not even making it that much better. The same wheel, they just refined it a little bit and then made it a little bit bigger wheel and then a bigger wheel. And then people keep buying it. Now, when they get to the point where everybody has doubted that they can't be any more innovative, that it is dead, like Mark Zuckerberg just said, now that's when they're going to blow everybody away because the Apple AI probably is, it's up there, that and Google. So if we waited for everybody to do this thing for X amount of years and everybody say, well, Apple's behind. And then they turn around and put out a product that trumps all of your 8 years of work. What do you think they're going to do when it comes to the actual physical thing?
Right. I
So
don't think Apple's behind. They say they're behind, but there's people like me and you that's like, we would go work for Apple. Still, if Apple offered me an opportunity to work for Apple, I would go work for Apple. Like, they don't have that appeal, and I think about Apple's functionality and the amount of money Apple makes from the App Store alone. They don't have to be innovative when the apps that they allow on their platform. And if Apple wanted to, Apple could have trumped everybody, said, we'll just make these apps ourselves. But instead, they say, hey, you bring your content, your apps to our store. We'll partner with you. We're going to charge you X amount. Now with Apple Cash, Apple Pay, they've eliminated the need to have a banker. So now Apple is its own bank. It self-supplies
their own
itself.
thing.
It doesn't need an outside investor any longer. I mean, they do, but they don't. And we can get into all that. But what I'm saying is the transactions and transaction fees and the amount of money transacted through Apple Cash. I love Apple Cash. I love Apple Pay. That's the greatest thing ever. And if when Apple's in the crypto space, like if Apple had its own crypto coin, I'm sure everybody would flow to it because they have that much ability and weight. And so I think he's wrong in terms of, it goes back to when you were talking about podcasting and we didn't do the podcast. Now we're doing the podcast. Now we're looking at podcasts today. We should have done podcasts because we had already been leveled out with the content by now. And growing and developing that, I'm looking at my desk right now. I'm recording on my iPhone. I have my iPad. I like the ability to have the connectivity and integrate, and with the new advancement of technology and AI and to integrate these things, I can create an iMovie, upload it to a AI platform, looking into YouTube, I can have my entire studio right here in my basement. You can have your entire studio right there in your living room, wherever you're at in your home. Easy. You can create an entirely new life right here on Apple products and go from your MacBook to your iPad to your iPhone and do all of it and never once leave your house.
True story.
And I just don't get it. And I think back to all the conversations we had, and it sets that up to, and I get Samsung and all these other companies are innovative. I'm sure Japan and all these companies have different things, but for what Apple has done, they created the future before the future was here, which is, it's not about who's going to have the gold when the gold mine hit. It's who's going to have the show.
Yeah.
Who's going to have their tools to do this. So for us, if I know that Apple is going to be refined, and when I get these apps, I can go create all the AI or whatever content I want because I know it's going to be stable. And I think that's critical, and I think that's big, and I'm excited to, on other conversations we'll have it another time in terms of Apple and Red Note, and I'd be interested in how much Apple makes in transactional fees from these platforms.
Oh, guys, if you look at their policy when you get an app on, because I played around with Xcode learning how to develop an app. I'm one of those type, like, I want to know what the potential for the outcome to be. When you get to looking at their setup, initially, yes, it's favorable for the app developer, but at the end, the house always wins. But it's a numbers game and volume. Yeah, you may feel like you're losing X amount, but like McDonald's, if we're selling 1 billion burgers every day, I mean, okay, I'll take the volume over the initial, because most people they want that, that initial hit. No, my product is $8.50. Pay me $8.50. Well, okay, and it's a good product, and it's $8.50, but you only sell 1,000 of those products a month, as opposed to $4.50, and you sell 10,000 of those products. So you're going to take a hit initially, but the number volume will make sense in the end. And that's the problem with a lot of people. They can't see the full picture because they're worried about what the expectations for themselves initially. And when you come to this podcasting, streaming, digital content, you cannot worry about the immediate expense or the immediate, what you're going to get back immediate. You have to look at long term, because this thing is like a funnel, except where the funnel is developing from the small side out.
Right.
So if you can stay narrow, focus, it will now bloom, and then you'll be able to adjust as it expands.
Yeah.
But if you turn the funnel upside down and you start with this big idea, and then you try to narrow it down to where it's only about you, then it's a bottleneck. So you have to work the opposite way to where you can receive more, because you have a bigger view of, or not a bigger, but a long-term view. So, and that's what, like this conversation that we're having, but here's what people need to understand. This is like the first day of your 400 level college class. The first day or the first week, they're basically laying a foundation. You've already been, your curiosity has already been piqued enough to bring you to this point. You took the 100, you took the 200, you took 300. This is the class that you got to take to get you out the door to where you want to be. But the first week is always like, oh my gosh, I just got to get through what this professor is saying. So you really don't have to digest it right now. That's the great thing about digital content, is you can go back and cherry pick.
Right.
Because you're going to just say, oh my gosh, I remember hearing at one point they talked about this. So let me go back to that. So just like what your reference is to this moment, you'll be able to create that references with your own content for somebody else, because the beginning will never look like the end.
Right.
So that's why the foundation, like look at the pyramids, look at the base of the pyramid, solid foundation. You know how hard it had to been to put that first layer down?
Yeah.
And the second layer got easier, and then it got easier, and you got better at it, better at it, better at it. It's just so precise. Social media. That's being a content creator, digital content. And that's just what people the, don't think they can just pop overnight. Some people do, but those people also deflate overnight. You want to build something to where it's like a hot air balloon. You know, the arrow is very small, but the more you pump that heat into it, it just gets bigger and bigger. And the bigger it gets, what does it do? It takes you higher and higher.
And I think what you said there is important because, we can come in here and drop the T, right? And we know, but that's not, and what you said was perfect. This is college level 400 because we understand that the come up is not just rehashing old life, right? Anybody could do that. What we're talking about is we're talking about higher level visionary hustlers that says, I want the meat and potatoes of how I get there. It's great that, we're going to have discussions with the media company and to come up with Justin Lemi, and we're going to bring back past stories like, hey, let's go get some people that we used to work with or Arthur. And we talked about a bunch of different people and bringing them on here. But I think it's important that setting that foundation of saying, hey, this is where we're going. Now you can look back because Steve Jobs said it best. He goes, you really see where you're going by looking back. So now when we have like, man, can you believe this is where you came from? Right. And now when you start to elevate that content, now that content becomes even more valuable because you said, oh, these guys Lemmy was at California, Long Beach State. He did what? And now he's what? And so people to see that evolution and that development and growth is really hard because it goes back to putting you in that box and just being what we ask you to be, or don't change your life. Just relive the good old days. I mean, you're looking like, no, we're going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about it so we can get a check. We're not just going to get online just to do this. No, we go rehash for some money. And I think it's important that we're both looking at it from a business perspective. Like, hey, your business is struggling with content. You have a content problem. You have I don't want to pay you guys $10,000 for you to consult with us. Here's our YouTube channel. Well, it's not the same. Okay, well, we got an hour and 30 or however long we finna wrap up. We got an hour and 25-minute lecture that you can go get. Well, how about you do 5,000? Okay, you're messing around. We can't work with you. We got to go on about our day because we're building for people to understand, we're building a network of information for that business owner that's going to sit down and be like, why would I do business with you? Well, you don't. Here's our free YouTube channel. Here's our free show. Right. And then we'll do the other content for the people that's going to drive our metrics for the ads and media. And most people don't understand this. They're probably not even going to be this far into the video to understand the game plan here. They'll be like, oh, these guys just dragged on for an hour. But the kid that's going to be on here, that's the young Justin or Lemi saying, all right, man, these guys have got the hustle. All right, so I'm going to go lay the foundation. I'm going to go create a bunch of skits and sitcoms. And now I'm going to go to this company with the AI marketing, like you said, hey, it's going to be $300. Well, how do I know you're going to get the numbers? Well, here's my YouTube channels that prove, and I'm going to embed your ad into this video. This is the rate of return you're going to get. Well, how I know you're going to do those numbers for my business? Be like, you don't. It's marketing. That's the whole point. How do you know the ads you're going to run on Meta is going to get you the return that you want? Only way you can do it is be consistent. You're not going to be able to do one ad and be like, oh, okay, this ad didn't work. That makes no sense at all. So I'm excited. I'm going to save that for the next podcast as we start to really dig deeper into older podcasts where we talked about the Appleby days and here and now we're talking about the future and what does that look like for our children going into the future and how we help them navigate, because my kids be telling me stuff and I'm like, what is that? Oh, Dad, you don't watch YouTube. It's this YouTube show, right? Before we used to watch Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or whatever whatever PBS Kids on the weekend. Now it's the kids turn on the YouTube channel. They turn on YouTube Shorts or they turn on the YouTube back, whatever the show is. And I'd be interested in the next podcast to talk about that aspect of YouTube, because I really want to get into YouTube because I got a lot of questions on YouTube. I got a lot of questions on what brought you to this point. So what we're doing is we're setting the foundation for the next. What drove your curiosity to here? So what most people don't understand is now when they go back to this episode of the come up, the first episode of the come up in our previous episodes, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I get it now," and they don't understand that. So I hope somebody at home, if you're listening to this, we're giving you the blueprint, we're giving you the game, and for the young Justin and Lemi, man, can you believe we're here? I leave with brain sweat all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a lot to learn and I got a lot to study, and so leave the people with some parting words for 2025. If they're not in this AI, they're not in the digital content, if they're not being involved in the connected world, what do they have to look forward to if they're not getting active with this stuff, man?
They're going to be obsolete. I mean, their thinking, their approach to life, everything, it's going to be obsolete. I mean, you got self-driving cars now. Sure, we grew up watching the Jetsons thinking at this point, if we've been flying cars, a self-driving car, trust me, it's the closest thing to a flying car. And you have some person outskirts of town that's still saying, I'm only going to spend cash. Well, your life and quality of life it'll be stymied. It will be stuck. You will not be able to enjoy the things that you watch and you see and you can't believe that that's real. You will never get to participate in that if you stay stuck in this moment in time. Because for the first time, this is not for the first time. This is the fastest time technology has developed. The thing that you just learned and experienced is already it's being improved on. It's being redone to quickness in real time. So if you are choosing to sit on the sideline, then you have to accept the experience of sitting on the sideline. But if you are very excited and you want to get into the game, then you have to start somewhere. And that somewhere may be bits and pieces of watching what we're talking about, because nobody's asking you to digest the whole thing. Nobody goes down to Roof Chris and ordered $149 tomahawk for two and bite right dead in the middle.
Right.
Like when they cut it off the bone and it's sitting in there and it's spawns on that sizzling hot plate with the garlic butter on it, you don't go straight to the middle of the steak. You start with the smallest slice and you work your way up and you start to develop an appreciation of how incredible each bite is.
Right.
But you will never know that if you stopped at bite one,
Right.
bite two, bite three. It gets better, and the better it gets, the more full you become. And now you think, is this the best steak in the world? No. What's Morton? What's this?
Right.
What's that? And now you start to expand because your curiosity, your experience, it increases your curiosity.
Right.
So with anything in life, if you want a better experience, you have to start small, not even small. You have to start with the initial experience and go little bit. Because some people can eat faster and digest more.
Right.
They still all started at the same first slice.
Yeah, that's good.
So
I like this. I like the direction we're going, because when I visualize it, and we're going to talk about this the next episode, for those who are still tuned in, we're going to talk about vision and what vision means and where you're going and what vision you had at 21, Lemmy, in 2005 when you were at Mac, and then when you're at Long Beach State, and now here you are, we're fast forwarded to where we're at in time, right? Most people don't know. I was setting it up for these discussions, but I had to get the lecture done, right? Because you understand, as a teacher, you cannot understand what we're going to take to come up until you understand where we're at now, because it's just going to sound like two guys on a podcast. No, we're setting you up for education. Now we're going to set you up for appreciation. And as these things come to fruition and we're documenting in real time, people are going to be like, oh, these guys literally did this they actually did it. They actually come up, right?
and still doing it.
Right. And so I look forward to talking to you about the visions at each level and in every level. And so we're going to say that we got you. Go back. Do not try listening to all this in one fell swoop. This was a
You don't have to, because you're going to break it up in shorts or clips and whatever.
Yeah.
And they can go and cherry pick, because somebody may be at a different stage and they're stuck at this point. They've made it past the beginner stage. It's like, so I got to this point and I got a lot of content, but So go to this reference and start watching these clips. They're going to flood it, give them the option, like, and then they'll like, okay, well, let me rewind a little bit because I do this all the time. I want to hear all that. I jump to the middle of it and be like, oh, I'm kind of lost on the context.
Right.
So then I go back a little bit more and then be like, next thing on, I'm starting the whole thing.
Yeah, that's going to be good. I'm excited to come up with Justin and Lemi. Excuse me. We're going to get better. We're going to improve at it. We're going to figure out the background situation, and then we'll have to do a live show. The next thing is once we get some content, and then once the season is over in a year, what your projects are, when you have a little bit more leeway to talk about these things, we're really going to bring things to fruition because you have a lot of amazing things going. You know, I'm launching the Verdier Prime project, and all these things are going to be eye-opening because for our haters, we know they're listening and watching, they're cringing, they're like, these guys are still doing shows, they're still doing podcasts, and it's like, yeah, keep watching because we're living in the vision of the future. We see the money. I made collectively with Facebook probably over $300 something. And so to me, I'm saying, I know it's possible. I look at that number multiplying by 2, 20, 30, 40, 50x, 100x within the next 2 years with what we're doing in the media company. Because here's the thing, and maybe I'm wrong, and let's finish up on this and tell me what you think. The original content people are going to start consuming, and I could be wrong, is this type of real world scenarios where we're saying, hey, these are the projects we've done. And we're going to, I know people are doing it, but I'm talking about this is the first time where you don't have to have VHS and VH1 and MTV and BET and you don't even have to have Facebook to do this anymore with Red Note and TikTok. And if you go out and you do it in real life, I did a workshop on Wednesday, and a whole bunch of people, you know, I'm gonna keep family private for the most part, but my wife, she reshared it, and I had like 200 interactions with it. I'm like, oh my gosh, who's all these people, right? But now when I go do another live event or you do an event, people are going to be following that journey because now they're interested in,
They're invested.
yeah. And then whenever your projects pop off, or now they go, okay, hey, this is where Justin or Lemmy recommended Ruth Chris or Morterson's or Morton. She said Morton. Oh, I'm going to try Ruth Chris, and now I'm going to go take a slice of the bite. And now it's like, oh yeah, this is so much better than cutting down the middle. And I missed out on all the opportunity to really enjoy this. So, all right, man, this has been the episode 1. This is the official. We have vision. What do you have for 'em, man? What parting words or wisdoms that you have for people on the come up with Justin?
I just think stay tuned because our previous podcast, you could tell that I wasn't comfortable, but I am I am in the most peace I've ever had in my life. I'm the most comfortable, the most open, the most vulnerable, but at the same time, the most appreciative of a relationship that I have with someone that I'm close to, that is family, and that is you. I can now appreciate those things without having to look at it as outside of whatever I got going on. This is my friend. No, like I can actually appreciate it. So I'm glad for the opportunity. And this is just the beginning. Like, I can't wait for a couple other projects that we're going to collab on to roll out because it's going to be crazy. It's ahead of its time. And when you catch up, it'll be fun. We'll be waiting for you.
And I think that's the big thing because there's some names that you talked about that we're going to bring on, and the ability to blend. And we've talked about this in past podcasts, and I know it's loaded on the front end, the ability to blend the different worlds because we've lived every aspect, right? For the people that's like, man, they were really tech heavy in this. And that was intentional because we're taking you on a journey. Because now you can go back and listen to our previous podcast and shows and be like, oh, and now we get it. And so we're leaving breadcrumbs for people. So when this thing blows up, because it's going to be amazing. Like you said, the weight is lifted. So now we could see the vision of this is where we're going. This is how we're going to build a media company. Because I look at KaiNet and I'm thinking all these different social media people, they're good at content creation. They're not good business people. We're good at both because we can blend into different aspects. We can touch basketball. We can touch tech, AI, running restaurants, running businesses. We could touch on every aspect. And guess what? We're not afraid to research. where most people are like, oh, I don't know what to prompt in Google. And we talked about this, and I'm not going to get into it because me, you had a conversation about a former relationship that's like typing Google a random word. You're like, that's how you use Google. They're like, well, I just want this simple thing. You're like, oh my gosh, you people don't get Google at all, right? And so I won't go into that because that's Pat. But anyways, I think that was funny. But I think for people who see us, they're gonna be like, where are these guys going? And I think this is the first time to say we don't need permission from Netflix to call us. Now, if Netflix wants to call us, Netflix, hey, you want to get in early? Break me and my man off. We need a couple of meals apiece. Spotify, all of them people, because I look at it that it's a marketing thing. And with your understanding of AI and the business savvy, the world is going to be to those who understand that. And if you don't understand that in business and content creation and how to utilize those resources, you're behind. You're dead on arrival at this point. So all right, y'all.
Good talk, brother.
But it was good. This is how we talk all the time, for guys, people. When we talked about it for years, we're like, man, we should be recording our content. We should be having these conversations on live. And I think the next one, we hype it up. I want to talk to Arthur and his things that he's got going with Hoop Dreams. So if you can make that happen, that'd be cool. Because with technology, it just shows what you're talking about. Like you could take this clip to your audience on Red Note or whatever, on any social media platform now, and you don't have to worry about traveling and connecting with people at a location. Now we're saying, hey, this is the world on my iPhone. For all those that don't think Apple is innovative enough, I don't need Apple to be more innovative than it is. Does my phone stay consistent all the time through my product? That's all I need to do. If it didn't crash, my iPhone has not crashed. It stayed consistent. The voice quality is good. The camera quality is good. That's all you need. What else you need to be innovative? Because the world is going to be on the content and creator and businesses that can drive content this way. Like in 2008, I couldn't envision having a background talking to you on a Friday with this accent. It wouldn't even been thought of. And now we could do it. And here's the cool part. Here's the next thing. Or what I think is cool is you could be at Ruth Chris talking about that experience, having the meta gray glasses, eating the Ruth Chris, and then people
That's
virtually enjoying that with you as you live or stream it. But yeah.
Trust me, that's coming. That's something I've already experimented with someone else. It's coming. It's coming. I will tell you this. Speaking on that vein of what you're talking about, in 1998, when I was living at the ball house, 98, 99, I told my teammates, I said, man, we just need a camera. Record our daily life. Like, just record our daily life. And they was like, no, that wouldn't be good. And me thought, yeah, that wouldn't be good. But now thinking about it, it would have been great. Because look at what happened with the real world.
Right.
These things, somebody had a ludicrous idea. They didn't know if it would work. But that's not up for you and I to decide or determine. We let the viewers determine that. And what we're talking about, we're not speaking to our proximity, because these things are worldwide. You throw these clips on Red Note, watch what happens.
Right.
Because that's what that community is on, and they've been on. I promise you throw some clips on Red Note from this, and you'll get comments saying, wow, finally. Because these are not the conversations that are typically had amongst content creators in America. It's usually about reaction. Our thing is not about, you're going to get reaction later.
Right.
But like you said, we got to whet your appetite. We got to give you a foundation, something to help you see where the vision is going. That we got a whole nother show coming for the tea time and all of that.
Right.
So yeah, that may go crazy, whatever. I already know it's going to go crazy. But for right now, this is the thing that are the most impactful for the people that we care about. And it is real life for us because we're actually in the middle of it and living.
Yeah, and that's why I say the real talk with Lemi Williams, that is my vision. Because it's a powerful moment, because we talked about this and I forgot what you said.
Just tease it. Don't.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. But you talk about being the Barry Gordon and what people don't understand. They don't. What I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say this for the next episode, but just keep it
Yeah.
in mind, the Barry Gordon and where we're gonna go. Because in my mind, I still think the world is green with this. Because I look at everybody chasing the same type of content, and this right now is when the Motown hit, and they didn't think Motown or Michael Jackson. If you really think about what Michael Jackson did, he was way ahead of his time with the moonwalking and his performances and the things that he did and what Motown and all of them did was revolutionary. It changed life as we know it today. And what we're talking about, and I know and I feel it, and I know you see it and feel it. We could take over the world in a global perspective. We're not saying Lex Luthor style, but I am saying that the global reach is possible with Red Note and the world becoming ultra flat with technology. All right, guys. So we're jumping off here. We can go another round. We're going to save it for episode 2. We will let y'all know when episode 2 comes out. I'm ready to get it going. I'm excited. But hey, it's been the Come Up with Justin Lemi. It's Mr. Dreams to Reality, Coach Ford, and my man, my big brother, Lemi Williams. You got a show name or is it L? I love it.
No, it's coming. Don't
It's
worry.
coming.
We let them digest what we gave them.
Yeah. All right, big bro. So I appreciate it, and I'll rap with you tomorrow.
All right.
All right,
Peace.
right on.